Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the movie Aquaman, and this is pretty good. It's kind of weird that I live in a universe where we got a good Aquaman movie before a good Superman and Batman movie after the current reboots, but what can you do? Not that they were horrible, but they weren't really true to the characters. This did a good job of translating Aquaman as a viable and badass superhero and kind of connecting him to kind of bigger mythology. I've seen a lot of people talking about it online and comparing it to kind of the Thor movies and the Marvel universe, and I think that's right. Now, granted, Wonder Woman's kind of movies fit that more along with the uh, mythological aspects, but this one works in the same way because you're like, okay, dude underwater, talk to fishes. It kind of makes a better job of making you believe and take his character kind of seriously because he's not done as a joke character. He is done as an actual superhero and someone that you want to take seriously because he does some badass things in this movie. So, the beginning, we get a kind of effective, just short kind of origin story on him, and I kind of like it because we see that his father meets his mother at Atlanta from a storm, and they kind of fall in love, and it was kind of crazy because she's like freaking out about what's going on, throws her trident through her TV. This is 1985, and it's kind of like an old school TV. And it's just really weird because the guy that plays Arthur Curry, Aquaman's father, is Django Fett, and his mother is Nicole Kidman, and it's just really strange. Not that any of the actors do anything bad to take you out of it, it's just like, Django Fett's getting it on with Nicole Kidman. This is kind of weird. That's the only thing that, well, not only thing, but that was like one of the things I'm like, this is strange. Not that it's bad casting, it's just, that's in the back of your mind. Like, okay. But they're kind of cool together. They have Arthur, and then, of course, the forces of Atlantis come to take their queen because she's betrothed to marry this one king, but she didn't want to. And she tells Tom to take care of him, and she's a kick-ass fight scene with these guys and this great costumed armor. It's like, holy crap, because evidently we learn later on that only the noble born of Atlantis and the undersea kingdoms can breathe air as well as water, whereas if the other denizens of Atlantis have to go above ground, they have to wear suits that have water so they can breathe. I'm like, that's a cool concept. And they did a great job with the costumes. Like, wow, that's pretty fucking imposing. She's just whooping ass. I'm like, yeah, I gotta hand it to them. They did a great job with the fight scenes in this movie. They're choreographed pretty well. Granted, in some instances they go a little bit fast that you don't know exactly what's going on, but that mainly pertains to anything that goes on underwater. And they did a good job with that, making it feel like the people were underwater. That was one of the points that I'm thinking, if they don't get that right, this is just going to look hokey and it's not going to draw you in. But anytime it was underwater, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Suspension of disbelief is right there. We're good. Moving on. So, after this attack, she decides to go back and tells him to, like, wait for her or whatnot. He's like, I'll wait for you every morning at dawn for you to come back. And he does do that. We then kind of go to the present. There are other flashbacks inserted where Volca, this one kind of vizier kind of dude, is training Arthur in the ways that get interspersed throughout. And I don't have a problem with them per se, but they don't really add too much until towards the end with a fighting move that Arthur uses later on. But you could have kind of like brought that up as like a voice or whatnot. They're not horrible, but I'm like, the way they were added in could have been done better with the rest of the flashback. So we also see that he figured out the ability to like talk to the underwater life as a kid, and that his eyes go kind of gold and everything. And this is not a power that most Atlanteans have. They do work with undersea creatures, but not all of them have the ability to talk to the undersea creatures on that kind of level. Okay. So we shift into gears and we see that there is this submarine, this Russian naval submarine is being attacked by these pirates, and they do pretty well. They get everything together. They execute the cat. They're trying to take out these holdouts, but that's of course when Aquaman shows up and kind of shoves them to the surface and everything. And then he gets in there and just starts wrecking ass. And we see that it's led by these two guys, and he starts telling his son this story about his grandfather and this knife, and that he had been called the Manta, which seems like it's a special kind of blade. I'm like, oh, that's probably Atlantean steel. We'll see because of the mark of Atlantis on it. He gives it to him. Oh, you're going to be Black Manta. Let's see how this works out. So Aquaman gets on and just like all the stuff that they're doing isn't really affecting him. He's like getting shot with bullets, not really hurting him. He's able to take out most of them in pretty great ways. And then he gets to the father-son pair, and the father uses a grenade launcher on him, and he just gets up and says, ow. And he's like, oh, and he's loading it up for another one. He kind of puts him out and stabs him kind of in the shoulder, telling him to stop. And then he tries to shoot him again, but gets into a position where he's compromised. And, of course, the guy that's going to be Black Manta in the future is like, help me help him. And he's like, he did this himself. And he's going to give him the mercy of the sea. And I'm like, yep. Now, granted, later on, Arthur feels conflicted over that choice, but it's kind of the same choice that Batman makes in Batman Begins with Ra's al Ghul. He's like, I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you either. Because, I'm sorry, the dude effectively killed himself, and then the son's still trying to save him, but then he, like, has to force his son to leave, because they got this high-tech sub as well, and he puts up pretty much, it's kind of like a high-tech grenade, and pretty much blows himself up. Of course, this then makes him into, not completely makes him into Black Manta, but he then decides to get vengeance on Arthur, and I'm like, your dad killed himself. My whole kind of issue with Black Manta in this is there's seeds of a great story and character with him, but he feels kind of shoehorned into this plot. And I think that's a disservice to this movie going on and the character as well, because they're like, oh, that's cool. His father's done with the water. His grandfather's got connections to the water and everything. That's kind of cool. And I just wanted to see a little bit deeper, but they didn't really do that. This whole thing's job was to do Arthur and his journey, and they did a good job with that. I'm just like, if that's the case, you should have just focused completely on Arthur and moved on. And we see a lot throughout the movie of worthiness kind of tying it to Thor and also Arthurian legend, because he is the king that is promised. And he has to do all these trials to prove his worth, even though he believes in the beginning he does not need to be a king. So Arthur's able to save the Russian naval people, gets them out of harm's way and all that. Black Manta goes off to continue his journey into becoming the Black Manta. He then goes and talks with his dad. They go out to a bar and kind of drink. They get approached by these biker guys, and you think they're about to pick a fight with Arthur. They're like, hey, dude, you're the Aquaman. Can we take a picture and everything? And then we see the slide shots of pictures. I'm like, yeah, because not many people go up and be like, I want to take pictures with Aquaman. And it was kind of nice. I'm like, yeah, Aquaman can be badass. And they're doing that here. You're like, yeah, okay, cool. So he's trying to drive, he's about to take his dad home. We get, Mira pops up and says that his half-brother Orm wants to declare war on the surface. And we'd seen previously in some scenes that this sub was used to attack Orm and this other king that he was trying to get into an alliance because he wanted to take on the surface world for all the stuff that they've done. And it looks strikingly similar to the sub that Arthur kind of had to mess around with. So I'm thinking, okay, that's probably connected to Black Manta. And we do see that later on. But we also learned that Mira's father is not that easily deceived. So he kind of wanted this war with the surface world as well. Of course, Arthur's like, I'm not really a king. I don't really care about Atlantis. I'm just going to do my stuff. Mira's like, whatever, and kind of goes off. But that's when this giant tidal wave kind of comes. But Mira does come and help Arthur and his father and saves them. And she's got badass water powers. Now, granted, I don't know if Arthur will eventually have water powers, but her, like, water kinesis and stuff that she can do with it is pretty badass, and it really helped differentiate her and kind of give her a better character in this movie to actually do some badass shit. So he's like, alright, fine, I'll go, we'll do this. They go to Atlantis, and pretty cool scene, we see, like, this bridge, and like, why do you use this bridge? It's like old habits and stuff. And anyway, you can't really get over the wall because of the hydro cannons and stuff. Oh, crap. They get through, they see all this cool kind of stuff in Atlantis, and they get to this kind of unused section, and they meet up with Vulko. It's like, alright, here's what we gotta do. We gotta get this this Trident of the Seven Seas, made by, like, the first king, Atlan. And we get the whole kind of spiel of what happened with Atlantis. They were very technologically advanced society. They had renewable energy and everything, and they tried to experiment with something, the sphere that can control the Trident that can control the seven seas. And we see King Atlan, and it went wrong, and it sunk Atlantis. And then evidently, that energy also allowed them to breathe underwater. Really kind of weird and kind of glossed over. Now, granted, I understand that that's not the point of the movie, but if you're going to kind of bring that up and bring up all these other 7 kingdoms that were underneath, because Atlantis is technically only one of them, but you need the approval of 4 of them to go to war. We see that Orm is doing that with, like, Mira's kingdom, and he has to go to the fishermen and this other kingdom as well, the kingdom of the brine, and there's, like, the kingdom of the trench or the deserter kingdom and all that stuff. It's like, okay, a lot of stuff's brought up, but it's skimmed just barely, and I'm like, I kind of want to know more about that stuff. Now, granted, I could probably learn more about that from the comics, and I'd probably gladly go into that because that's kind of the same kind of stuff that goes on with Thor. But in this particular instance, I'm like, what? Okay, so this evidently gave you the power to breathe underwater, but in certain instances it had you evolve to fish people, while certain people are just people, and we got people that turned into murderous, crazy trench people, and we got crab people. Not to be confused with South Park, but that would have been a pretty badass reference, but we did get a dude in crab-ass armor fucking going ham. Well, for a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. But I understand that's not important to the plot, but if it's brought up and can become a kind of cool thing for the plot that's, like, extra added, cool. Otherwise, it kind of gets in the way of it. Now, granted, even though I have those problems, I kind of liked it because I liked the interaction between Arthur, his father, and Mira, and the rest of everything going on. So, you're like, okay, this is the plan, we need this, so that way I can assert my claim and everything goes all hunky-dory. They, of course, then get attacked by Orm's forces, and Mira and Vulko are able to get away, while Arthur is captured, and in his hot-headedness, decides to challenge his brother to fight him. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do this. But Mira and Vulko are like, you needed the Trident first. You needed the Trident first, so that way you could assert the claim and change the hearts and minds. And like, yeah, he's doing it out of order. Of course, Orm brings up to him how he was responsible for their mother's death because she was brought back and thrown in the trench as a sacrifice because she had a half-breed child. And he views Arthur as the reason why their mother died. Okay. So they fight, and they have a pretty epic fight. Now, granted, it's called the Ring of Fire, but they swim around a lot more. I'm like, that's not an effective ring. Not that big of an issue. I'm just like, they could have done some more things with, like, actually making it kind of like an enclosed lava dome or something like that. Or whatnot. I'm just like, why are you calling it the Ring of Fire if you can get really out of the ring? Because they were fighting on statues at certain points. And, well, they're fighting, and Arthur's using his mother's trident, but Orm gets the upper hand and destroys it and is about to deliver a killing blow when Mira comes and saves him, and they decide to go off. They had gotten the last recorded message from King Atlan, and they have to go figure out where to use this because it's older technology that they don't have access to be able to get the message out of. So they go off and they're kind of trying to figure out what to do, and she's like, all right, we got to get to the Sahara because that's where it's at. That's where the deserted kingdom is. They get an airplane. They dive down. Arthur's like, this is crazy. We are in the desert. We don't have any water or all that. What's going on? She's like, she of course is kind of wary of the surface world, thinking it's all the same. It's like, no, we've got little lakes and stuff like that. And shoots it back at Arthur, thinking of Atlantis is all the same. It's like, yeah, kind of got me. They drop down through and they're able to find it. They found where the trident was forged, and they're trying to use the device to get through the message. And then she's like, oh, duh, it's dried out. And then takes water from him, starts it up, and they get their message from Atlan, and talking about, like, only the true king will be able to find the way to the trident and use it. They get their spells, like, okay, what the hell's going on here? They figure out that they gotta go to Italy. They go through there. We see that Orm has to deal with Mira and Arthur kind of differently, but not really, because her father's like, I don't want you to hurt my daughter. Like, fine, I won't do that. Still decides to send a hit squad after her and decides to give Atlantean tech to the Black Manta, and he kind of, we get this like little kind of fun thing as he's trying to like make his own kind of gear. See him making the helmet, and he used it at first, but it blew a hole in his sub. It's like, oh god, it destroyed the helmet, but he's able to make it. They get to Italy, and they're able to use the history and everything to put the bottle in a place, and they find the place to go get the trident. That's, of course, where the forces start attacking, and this kind of chase scene was too long, in my opinion. I'm like, okay, it's kind of cool. We get some stuff going on, but I feel that impactful action sequences do not have to be long. It's just more like padding. Quantity does not dictate quality. I would rather take a quality fight scene along the lines of John Wick rather than a long fight scene, but if you really think about it, John Wick is almost a giant extended fight scene, but not really. You've got plot and everything going on, but you get quality fight scenes rather than just like a lot of quantity. You see the deadly effectiveness of what's going on rather than just movement and things. Because that's kind of the detriment to what goes on here. We see the Black Manta doing some cool stuff with his helmet and everything and blasting Arthur and using Atlantean steel and hurting Arthur with those tactics. His arms are burned. He's bleeding. He is cut because that can affect him. And Arthur has to use some quick thinking to take him out and pretty much use these two balls in a chain and like wrap it around the dude's neck and throw him and like takes him into the scene. Like, holy crap, that's not good. And that's about the end of him until we get to the mid-credit scene. But Arthur is like passes out pretty much. Mira uses like wine to make spears and takes out the rest of these people. And one of the assassins, I only bring this up because it's an interesting, cool moment that I like that was going on through it. She pretty much disables his suit system, and he's in the bathroom, and he's like gasping for air, and he sees a toilet, and he shoves his head in so he's able to breathe. It's a comedic but interesting way that really shows you, oh, they can't breathe air. Their objective is to breathe water, and that's the only way they'll do it. And he goes into this toilet. It's like, and you see him just like, I'm not going to die. That's the kind of stuff that I like. Otherwise, it was just like them moving and kind of like destroying buildings. Not destroying buildings, but going through walls and everything. Like, oh, okay. We get through that. And they're going through. They got this boat. And he's like, is this our boat? What, did you take this? He's like, oh. She's like, oh, these aren't for public use. But they're able to get to the Kingdom of the Trench because that's where it was pointing. And they have to deal with the crazy fish people. They dive on down. They're using flares to back them off because they don't like bright lights. They get through and they find this kind of swirling vortex and they get through to the hidden sea, and it's a sea in the center of the Earth, and it's kind of like a dino land and everything. Like, oh, that's pretty cool. And who do they find there? His mother. It's like, oh, yay. I like the touching reunion in the scene, but there's at one point where she's like decked out in like the dead trench people stuff, and like his face gets really close to some of those spikes. I'm like, eh. But they're hugging and everything. She's like, well, the Triton is through there, but there's a creature guarding it, and the only way to get back through the portal and everything is to use the Triton. So he goes through, and he has to deal with the Carathon, which is voiced by Julie Andrews. And, oh god, pretty much that she hasn't fed in aeons, and that she doesn't think that he's worthy. And he's like, I don't think that I'm worthy, but I gotta stop what's going on. As we see, Orm has killed a king of one of the kingdoms, and has gotten their support, is going to fight the Brine kingdom to get their support, to then launch their attack on the surface world. And he's like, I need to stop this. And that's why I need this Triton. And she's like, oh, okay. And nobody's been able to talk to her in aeons. And she's like, okay, go for it. And he's able to pick it up. He gets the cool Aquaman outfit. And you're like, oh, that's usually Aquaman's outfit isn't cool. They made it kind of like armor, and they did a really good design job on it. Just like the other costume designer. Yeah, looks pretty cool. So they go off, and we see that the battle's going on, and then he busts out with his Leviathan creature, and this is where it gets kind of weird. I understand that in battle there's casualties and everything, but a lot of the transportation is sea creature based. And taking the amplification powers, I guess, of the awesome Uber Triton of the Seven Seas, should be able to amplify his powers to a way that he could just be like, hey, everybody, stop what you're doing. Let's end some of this bloodshed. Now, granted, I understand that action is part of the movie, but you kind of want to minimize casualties as much as possible. And they're fighting and everything. Orm almost gets down to one king, but he has to kind of like back off, because that's when the Leviathan creature pops up with Arthur. And Mira tells him to fight Orm on his battlefield, because last time he fought on Orm's battlefield and got his ass kicked. So Arthur puts him up, and they have a fight on the top of this kind of sub thing, and he kicks his ass. He does a lot of kind of cool stuff with the Trident. He uses a move that he had learned from his teacher, and is able to destroy his brother's Trident. And that's, of course, when the mother pops up, and they decide to take him away and all that. It's like, oh, alright, cool. And they're all kind of happy and everything. His mother then goes and reunites with his father. It's like, alright, cool. That's all kind of good, happy ending. So, I liked kind of where it went. And we didn't get as deep as I would have liked into Atlantean culture. It was just more of an action adventure role, but we did get some depth to Arthur, going from the reluctant hero to the person who's like, okay, I need to do this. I need to achieve these goals. And even though I don't think that I'm worthy enough, I need to do this to stop this guy from harming the world, because it's not just dividing the surface and underwater. It's all one world. And that's what he brings, the union of the two worlds together. And he's got to do that with Mira at his son. Alright, cool. I don't think they did a bad job with Arthur and Mira's relationship, because you felt that they were in a good place to be kind of together at the end. But that wasn't really the focus. That was kind of just, okay, part of the package kind of deal. So hopefully we get more development on that going forward in any other movies, because I think that this did a good enough job to establish Aquaman as a not-joke property. Granted, they did a good job with him in Justice League, and I really liked his character in Justice League. This continued to add on to that. I'm like, okay, Aquaman is viable. All of your characters are viable. Let people do good things with these characters, and understand the characters, and make good and impactful kind of lore decisions with these characters. Will be good. And then we get to the mid-credit scene, and we see that throughout the movie that this dude has been talking about Atlantis and everything, and he teams up with the Black Manta because he wants to get to Atlantis, but Black Manta wants to kill Aquaman. And he's like messing around with the tech and all that, and that's about all we get. Now, one of the kind of bigger issues, not bigger issues that I had, but one of the downsides of having Justice League before this movie is that you also then get into the point of Aquaman has super friends. Okay? Got Superman, he's got Batman, he's got Wonder Woman, he's got Cyborg, he's got the Flash. I'm just thinking, okay, there's a lot of undersea stuff going on. I understand this is Aquaman's movie, but wouldn't Superman be like, that ain't cool? Granted, Superman is always going to be an issue when you have DC because depending upon how you do him, he does a lot of things. Now granted, I know that Aquaman needed to solve what was going on here, but when you have a world that Aquaman and Superman know each other, hell, even if you didn't have a world where Aquaman and Superman knew each other, it would have been just cool to see a Superman cameo and be like, yo, Arthur, you got this? You good with this? You know what I mean? Just at the end, you just see all this stuff going on, like, oh god, it's the Kryptonian kind of thing. But I like that kind of stuff, that interweaving, but what can you do? This was still good in its own right in setting up Aquaman's role in the DC universe. Granted, we'll have to see what the executives are doing with this whole universe because I don't know what's going on. We hear that Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck are out as Superman and Batman. Where's that going to leave Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman and Jason Momoa as Aquaman? Are they going to reboot? Are they going to keep these guys? Timeline-wise, there's going to be and they need to have like a crisis level event like the comics to kind of reconfigure this universe and keep certain actors as characters and are able to interchange other characters, I believe. But that's overall giant level. I think this worked and was able to establish Aquaman as a viable franchise with these characters and with these actors, and hopefully they don't fuck it up. Granted, there are things that can be done for improvement purposes, but overall, I think that can happen later on if they don't get in their own way. So those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.